It's a question that is asked every Advent as we once again enter into a new church cycle, a new year, and we begin our preparation and waiting for something. Jesus' second coming was thought by some of the authors of the New Testament, and perhaps even by Jesus himself, to be scheduled quite quickly after his resurrection. And here we are some 2,000 years later, and people somewhat cynically ask us, what are you waiting for? But we know, as we hear today's readings that remind us more of the feast of Christ the King, more of that apocalyptic sensibility that we got all through late October and November, that we're waiting for the second coming of Christ. We're waiting for that moment of glory when Christ comes as one like the Son of Man, to bring the fulfillment of the promise, to bring to completion all of creation united as one in that heavenly celebration. We know and we put our trust in that fact, and that we who were baptized into the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ are called always to witness to that, just as we prepare at the start of this new liturgical year to celebrate his first coming, when he came to show us the way, when he came to bring salvation and break open the barriers between us and heaven. But what are you waiting for? It's a question each of us must ask time and again, because as Jesus indicates in the gospel, we can get waylaid. We can be distracted. We can let the cares of this world and its pleasures keep us from being mindful that we're here with a task, we're here with a purpose, and that we, filled with the Holy Spirit through our confirmation, have a role to play in allowing God to work in us, that the living presence of Christ, the third Advent, not that at the beginning at his birth, and not that at the end, but the Advent that comes when we allow Christ to live in our hearts, to rule in our being, to guide our minds, give a guard to our tongue, and help us to embody the very living presence of Jesus. Our opening prayer tonight doesn't speak about asking God to give us the grace to run towards the Christ. For we know we already have that. We have been empowered by the Spirit. We ask God to give us the resolve to allow us to do our part, to bring the message, the hope, to bring the charity, the kindness, the goodness to fruition in our world. For we are the living presence of Christ. We are, as members of his body, the ones who help make him manifest as we wait. What is this period of preparation? But a period of activity, not frenetic activity, but focused activity, where we take what we hear in the scriptures, where we take what we receive in the Eucharist and put it to work. And not all of us are going to follow in the footsteps of those great Irish missionaries who brought the church around the world, but each and every one of us have a role. Each and every one of us have the capacity in the places where we live and work to be the living presence of Christ, to speak with his sense of justice, to look in the eyes of someone who is hurting and see the presence of Christ, and reach out to that presence with the presence of Christ to bring the great unity that we long for a little bit closer to reality. Each of us have the opportunity with family members and friends to chastise a little, but with love, and to hold them when they're hurting, and to let them know the reason for our hope. Each of us, in our work life or at school, have the opportunity to speak the truth with kindness, to challenge injustice, to move into that place where God's presence is more alive in our world for us existing. May we have the resolve to run towards the Christ with our good deeds, we're told. It's what we prayed for today. What are we waiting for?